Well, hello again. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for joining me for another edition of Electric Avenue's YouTube updates. Doing the new releases for July 25th, 2025. Let's first of all say RIP to the lead singer of this band, Ozzy. RIP. Who knew? I mean, he seemed so at least workable just a couple of weeks ago when he was on stage, and then this. So kind of a shock, but yeah, it happens. He wasn't young. 76 is not young, unless you're 76, and then you're like, hey, that's not so old. Anyway, rest in peace, Ozzy, and condolences to the family. All right, let's get on to this week's new releases. I have a bunch of things to show you this week. The first thing being, like I say before, usually, I like doing box set type things first. So the first thing I have to show today is box set. And that would be, let's see if I can get this up here. The Talking Heads. More songs about buildings and food. This is their second sophomore release from what, 1979, 78? 78. Iconic sort of cover art here. This was an album. I think this is the first one that Brian Eno sort of landed a hand on. I was not part of the first record. This actually is a 4 LP set. It features the album remastered, then rarities on a second album. The rarities are basically alternate versions of every song from the album, or many of the songs in kind of a different running order, and couple of songs twice. Then the LPs 3 and 4 is a live show from 1978, August 1978. Let's see, what can I say? Well, this album is the one that features their cover of Al Green's Take Me to the River, which became such an iconic kind of stage song for them. Also featuring here, The Girls Want to Be with the Girls, Thank You for Sending Me an Angel, Found a Job. It's a really great album, and it's kind of bringing in more of the rhythmic elements that would become so important on the next album following this. I can't remember the name right now. The black one with the kind of tire marks all over it. Why can't I remember that album? Oh, if I don't tell you the name of the album, I'm going to be like Fear of Music. I didn't even have to look the whole thing up. I'm like, I know it's going to come to me. It's been a long day. I'm doing this actually in the evening instead of the morning for once. So anyway, Talking Heads vinyl box set. Then also there's the CD box set, which is very nice. They've kind of done it in a sort of more of a book style, with a nice spine there with the title on it. And this is significantly less. I mean, the vinyl is about 125, 130. CD's about 80. And it kind of, you see the orange one right here, that's Talking Head 77. That was the last CD box set. So it's about the same size. If you're doing CDs, those will look good on a shelf as well. Same content. And then if you're sort of not into it for the big package, there's also the 2 LP edition, which just features the first 2 albums from the vinyl box set. So it features the original album remastered from the 2-track analog master tape, and the rare and previously unreleased outtakes and B-sides of the second. And this is on limited edition transparent red vinyl. It's the indie color variant of that. So you got a lot of Talking Heads this week. And there's a new David Byrne solo album coming out in September. And I hope that they continue with this series, because some of the next albums that they've got coming up, Fear of Music, Remain in Light, Speaking in Tongues, those are all incredible albums and well deserving of box sets. So, all right, let me grab my next pile here. Give you a couple of reissues at first this week. These are albums that were in print at one point in time and then they fell out and they haven't been for a while. And RSD Essentials has gotten a hold of them and done color vinyl versions. So we have Mazzy Star, She Hangs Brightly. This was their first kind of breakthrough record, I guess I would say. It's on aqua and black marble vinyl. And then since we already have had So Tonight That I Might See for a while, so everyone wanted Fade Into You, they're doing the third album, also Among My Swan, and this one is on bone color vinyl, so it's kind of a white, off-white. Two great albums if you're into like dream pop and stuff like that. Cocteau Twins and sort of like shoegaze type stuff. I mean, it's more like ambient dream pop than it is shoegaze, but you get Hope Sandoval's really dreamy vocals, and so it's nice seeing those back in print. And for a limited time, I would say on the color vinyl. Another sort of big coming back of artists, and this is a new album, is Alice Cooper with The Revenge of Alice Cooper. Now, Alice Cooper is sort of more the band than the artist, but also the name that the artist now goes by. His last record was a couple of years ago. This one actually reunites the original band members for the first time in 50 years, all of them. 50 years. After 50 years, the new album by the original Alice Cooper group. The natural successor to Billion Dollar Babies, Killer, and Love It to Death. This is the limited color vinyl version on yellow vinyl. There's also a black vinyl version. It's a little bit less expensive. So starring Alice Cooper, Michael Bruce, Dennis Dunaway, Neil Smith, and featuring a special appearance by Glenn Buxton. So it's people have been waiting for this. I've had numerous people ask me about it in the last few months here, and it looks like 13. It's like 12 or 13 songs here, maybe 14 actually. So it's quite a extensive project there. Good for them. Another new release that from an artist that seems to keep gaining in popularity and stature more on the country side of things, Tyler Childers and his new record Snipe Hunter. This is the indie exclusive Oriole vinyl color. So Oriole would be what, yellow or yellow and black? Or is it more orange? Orange and black. So yeah, there's actually nothing printed on the outside for me to tell you like how many songs or whatever, but it looks like it's a little bit more fully fleshed out than his last record. His last one had a few, maybe 8, 9 songs, something like that. People said it was kind of short. This one looks a little bit more sort of fully thought through. The last one did get a Grammy nomination though. So anyway, if you're into like Sturgill Simpson and people like that, you should probably check out Tyler if you have not. Sort of that alt country genre. This, I don't know how much of this I can show here. I'll just briefly flash. Is SZA with her album SOS. This is the deluxe version. She's kind of here made to look sort of like a bug or something, and there's a lot of boobs and belly hanging out. It's a little too close for being here. So anyway, this is the deluxe edition. It was actually streaming a little bit ago, and so now it's out on vinyl. It includes 19 more tracks, 30 for 30 with Kendrick Lamar, BMF, Diamond Boy, and Scorsese Baby Daddy. It ain't cheap. It's $90, but it's 4 records. The original album was 2. It does feature the song Kill Bill. Yeah, so different album artwork, guest appearances from Dom Tolliver, still Travis Scott, ODB, Phoebe Bridgers. Yeah, she won multiple awards for this record, and she, I mean, it's interesting when artists record so much material and then they put out these deluxe editions, and all of a sudden it becomes sort of super expensive. But this is, yeah, 4 records, so I would say that SOS from SZA is one of our biggest sellers of the last year or two. So don't be surprised if that sells out quickly. A new release from Jimmy Vaughn, Stevie Ray's brother. Don't. It's called "Do You Get the Blues?" Blues record. I think it's on blue vinyl. Features songs. The first song is "Dirty Girl." It looks like it might be. Who wrote that? Is it Bruce Willis? I don't know. It says B. Willis, Bob Willis. Oh, Bob. It might be Bruce Willis actually. Bill Willis. There we go. I'm like, did Bruce Willis write these songs before? No. It's been a long day, people. Okay, so has Dirty Girl, Out of the Shadows, The Deep End, Planet Bongo. I think people who are into Jimmy Vaughn know of his association with Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I won't say any more about that because I won't bore people. Patty Griffin and her new record, Crown of Roses. And it's an interesting cover for Patty. Very marmy looking. Limited edition turquoise vinyl. The new album from the Grammy award-winning singer-songwriter. If you've not heard Patty Griffin, she has a voice that could cut glass. It's just really piercing and it's great. And these are 8 new tracks. Looks like she's doing guitars and vocals on a lot of them. And yeah, she and her band. All right, produced by Craig Ross. New album from the band Night Moves called Double Life. This is on Domino Records. Domino, the label home to like Arctic Monkeys. This is a limited edition. This is what color is this? Curacao Blue pressing. It comes with a download card. They're just a rock band. Night Moves. But stuff on Domino is usually always pretty quality, so I order it anyway. Very excited about this. It's been years, decades in waiting and waiting for them to reissue this album because it has been reissued once or twice before. In fact, I think it might have come out on vinyl when it did come out as sort of a kind of a side promotional type thing. But you couldn't find it for the longest time. Mellow Gold from Beck. And yep, it's actually happened. This is the album that features the first track, Loser, which was a huge hit for him. Breakthrough hit. His first album that really broke through. But I don't think it was his first album. Or it might have been. He had a couple of indie records around the same time. But for some reason, this one was picked up from Bongload by Geffen, David Geffen Company, and the rest is history. Loser was huge. Pay No Mind, Snoozer, Effin' With My Head, Whiskey Clone, Hotel City, Soul Suckin' Jerk, Beer Can, Nightmare Hippie Girl, Motherfucker. Yeah, I mean, this is a big deal for when it came out, and this might resonate with some people. 90s fans out there, we're gonna have to get more of these. We got a few. We're gonna need more, I have a feeling. Another one, Rusted Root, another 90s classic, When I Woke. I mean, I don't know why this album hasn't been on vinyl for a while. Maybe it has, and this is just a new pressing, but this says a 2 LP debut. The 1994 platinum selling World Beat Classic features the hit Send Me On My Way. You know that song. You know you do. It's used in a million commercials. Rust and Blue Sky pressing, limited to 2,500 copies. And it's not cheap, but it is 2 LP color vinyl. I think Real Gone did this, maybe. Um, I don't know. They license a lot of stuff. Oh, yeah, Real Gone did it. Originally, they were on Mercury. I mean, they were a jam band, and they were fun. And this album was huge. And they never had an album as big as it again. And they sort of kind of fell away after someone sent them on their way. Oh, that's a terrible joke. All right, that's pile one. Well, after the Talking Heads box set, let me get some more here. This is not a. I wouldn't say this is a big, huge week for releases, but there are plenty to look at. Grab a couple other things here. So you can tell I'm really well prepared today. Man down. Okay. Next group of releases. This is pretty cool. Edward Scissorhands. And the soundtrack has been released before, the sort of typical Universal one. But this one is done by Waxworks, which is a great sort of specified kind of label. It's got completely new artwork, and it's on this really cool, if you see that color, really cool color vinyl, which is Snow Dance. It's like white with blue and purple in it. Composed by Danny Elfman. 11 by 11 printed insert. Artwork by Ruiz Burgos. Pretty cool. I love this movie. I haven't seen it in such a long time. Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder. The Eels and Electroshock Blues, probably their first or second most album of most notoriety, I think. Probably second, I guess, after the one with Novocaine for the Soul. I would say this is probably their artistic triumph. At least, I think some people would agree with me. This was The Man Called E, his album that was written for his sister who'd passed away. She had a lot of mental health problems, and it was just kind of it's a pretty sad album overall. That's why it's called Electroshock Blues. But it's sort of a grunge, kind of an indie grunge folk masterpiece in some ways. It's pressed on solid blue vinyl. Includes Last Stop, This Town, P.S. You Rock My World, and 3-Speed. It's its first repress in 10 years. It also features Cancer for the Cure, Going to Your Funeral Part 1, Elizabeth on the Bathroom Floor, My Descent into Madness. I mean, you can kind of tell from the titles. It's not light fare, but it is a really good record. So another great record from the 90s. We got a lot of 90s stuff this week. Yo-Yo, Freddie Johnston, and Can You Fly? And this was sort of another indie singer-songwriter album that was pretty popular back in the 90s and is kind of hard to find. Let's see. I don't know if this was his biggest album. He had a couple. But this one was it was a pretty big record, so kind of hard to find. And another, I love this soundtrack, and I'm so happy to see it back in print. Clueless, Alicia Silverstone at the center there, Brittany Murphy, rest in peace, another tragic tale. But oh my gosh, this is such a fun poppin' rockin' record, group of songs here. What do we have? The Muffs doing their version of Kids in America, Cracker with Shake Some Action, Counting Crows doing The Ghost in You live. That's the Psychedelic Furs song. Luscious Jackson's Here. World Party doing All the Young Dudes. You got Radiohead doing Fake Plastic Trees, the acoustic version. Lightning Seeds Change, that's a bop. Smoke and Popes Need You Around. Beastie Boys Mullet Head. Boss Tones Where'd You Go, another big hit. Coolio Rolling with My Homies, used to great effect in the movie. Supergrass, All Right. Velocity Girl, My Forgotten Favorite, and rest in peace, Jill Sobule with Supermodel at the end of this. Died recently in a house fire. Terrible. This is a Amy Heckerling movie. It also featured, I believe it featured Paul Rudd, sort of like a breakthrough role too. He's not listed on the people here or in the picture, but anyway, great movie, fun. I mean, it's kind of goofy in some ways, but it's also very indicative of its time. So, 90s realness. All right, moving back a little bit, the Cars with Shake It Up. So we had the Cars Candy-O and the first self-titled record were redone in the Rhino Hi-Fi series. And now, for some reason, they skip over to Rhino Handmade to do Shake It Up. I don't know why it's not in the same series, but it's this one where it's also remastered by Chris Bellman at Bernie Grundman. So Kevin Gray did the others. This one was produced by Roy Thomas Baker, and it features their first top 10 hit, the title song, and early MTV favorite, Since You're Gone. Sort of letting the secret out. This was the first Cars album I ever bought because it was sort of my generation. But I know people who bought the ones earlier, and those are great albums. I did eventually hear them. I even love Panorama. I think that's a great album. So, all right. I mean, when Heartbeat City comes out, that'll probably be huge. But this is a really good record. It's a good sort of new wave pop record. So, Victim of Love is great. I'm Not the One is great. You could see that, like, they were about to be huge. And they were. Let's see. Another Doors reissue. So, in the Electra 75 series, this is Doors Golden Doors Volume 2. And you may be asking yourself, what is this? I don't know what this is. This is available for the first time in the US. The Doors' original 1970 Japanese compilation on limited edition purple vinyl. For some reason, I don't know why we don't have Volume 1, why they released Volume 2 without Volume 1. But anyway, this has Touch Me, You Make Me Real, Tell All the People, Runnin' Blue, Wishing Sinful, The Soft Parade, Land Ho, Wild Child, Moonlight Drive, Horse Latitude, Spanish Caravan, and 5 to 1. So it really is an interesting kind of grouping of songs. Probably something to introduce them to the Japanese market or whatever, but it's an interesting curio. So if you're into the Doors, and you probably have a lot of their albums, so it's interesting to have these like compilations that came out. Another one that I think looks pretty good is Love, and it's their Electra singles. So Electra 75th anniversary through Rhino, they're doing these kind of greatest hits albums. So this one features 7 and 7 Is, My Little Red Book, Alone Again, Or, and many more. It's the Electra singles from 1966 to 1970. All right, so that's a new piece from Love. I love this cutout cover too. It is a cutout, and you can see the Electra record insert in the inside, which was so common back in the day. All right, another great reissue. Good to see this finally. Alison Krauss and Now That I Found You, a collection. This was really kind of the album that put her on the map in a big way, because people heard a lot of these songs and bought this collection, and then they started kind of investigating her career and her catalog a little bit more. But and now she records with Robert Plant, so she's a massive star now. But this at the time was a double platinum certified album, so that means over 2 million copies were sold on CD of basically what was a greatest hits collection of bluegrass music. That's how popular this was. So I think it's hard to kind of put that into terms sometimes for kids who don't realize just how successful some of these albums were. But this one features When You Say Nothing at All, very popular song, and of course, Baby Now That I've Found You, and more. A landmark collection that helped redefine contemporary bluegrass and country. Includes solo performances, Union Station collaborations, and timeless covers from the 27-time Grammy winner. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. All right. Also features Oh Atlanta, Every Time You Say Goodbye, Teardrops Will Kiss the Morning Dew, and there's Allison with Union Station, and they just put out a new record earlier this year, the first in like 12, 14 years, something like that. Record Store Day, Rejuvenation from Elton John featuring Ray Cooper. This is Elton doing basically live stuff in a theater. Let's see, where are they? Oh, the Rainbow Theater. It's a BBC recording featuring unreleased live recordings, including Sweet Painted Lady, Idol, and Dan Dare. This is also on black vinyl. It was a Record Store Day thing that came out a few months ago. If you missed it, you should probably check it out if you like Elton at all. I think his stuff when he's playing sort of solo piano with Ray Cooper, they did Roy Cooper, sorry, Roy Ray. They did one in Moscow that was really great. It came out like maybe 4 or 5 years ago again. So I just think he just sounds great when he's kind of intimate with the audience, and it really shows off his piano playing and his talent and his ability, rather than just being part of a band usually. But let's see, a couple of OJC original jazz classics. We've got Benny Golson's Gone with Golson, and this is a Prestige New Jazz Groove. This was done by, let's see, Rudy Van Gelder did the original recording. Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio did the mastering, featuring Curtis Fuller, Ray Bryant, Tom Bryant, and Al Harewood in that group. And then also Looking Ahead by Ken McIntyre featuring Eric Dolphy. And this one, also original jazz classics, featuring Walter Bishop Jr. on piano, Sam Jones and Arthur Taylor on drums. And this one was also Kevin Gray. Both pressed at RTI. They're going to sound pretty amazing. The quality of these kind of jazz reissues from this company and the tip-on jackets and all, really great stuff. Also Cal Tjader, and this is in the Jazz Dispensary series, and this is his fusion-inspired groove trip Brazilian, produced by Airto, with arrangements by George Duke and guest appearances by Hermeto Pascal, David Amaro, and Raul de Souza. Lacquers cut by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio, pressed at RTI. I mean, Kevin Gray, the guy knows what he's doing. He just did the entire Doors series and some of the Black Sabbath stuff for Rhino. I'm like, does this guy ever sleep? He is doing so much work, but thank God, because he really is like doing a fantastic job of cleaning up the sound of a lot of these old recordings. There's a John Lee Hooker reissue, Boom Boom. And so if you like your blues, so this is sourced from the original analog master tapes, first ever wide release on vinyl, featuring Jimmy Vaughn, Robert Cray, Albert Collins, and Charlie Musselwhite. And Boom Boom, let's see what year originally came out, 2007. Produced by Roy Rogers. Got a song called I'm Bad Like Jesse James. And yeah, I Ain't Gonna Suffer No More is the last track. And there's also a Lightnin' Hopkins reissue of his album Lightnin'. And this is on yellow and green vinyl. It's a double record. Vinyl has been completely unavailable. 1969. Features 20 studio tracks from Rolling Stone magazine's top 100 greatest guitarist of all time. Double LP set, one pressing worldwide. Yeah, it's 2 records. Hold Up Your Head, My Starter Won't Start This Morning, One Kind Favor I Ask of You, Annie's Blues, Mojo Hand, Have You Ever Had a Woman, Backdoor Friend, Little Girl, and It's Better Down the Road. So there's a lot of Lightning Hopkins there. And if you're into reggae, the Mighty Rootsmen, and this is sort of a project by Sly and Robbie. It features Toots Hibbert, Gregory Isaacs, Michael Rose, and Luciano with Sly and Robbie. They are the Mighty Rootsmen. And it's a singular reggae triumph, uplifting the spirit and revitalizing the soul, says David Katz. Mastered by Levi Seitz at Black Belt Mastering, produced by Optimal. Another great record label, manufacturing record plant, Optimal. They're the ones that are doing all of the those Doors reissues, I believe, or maybe it was the Black Sabbath. A lot of those Rhino hi-fis. Anyway, the Mighty Rootsmen. So, I mean, go a little deeper in reggae there. Sly and Robbie are amazing. I think this was done in the early mid 80s. So they were still like doing pretty straight ahead island reggae at that time. And then also on CD, we've got a few things here. There's the new Paul Weller CD called Find El Dorado. And there is a vinyl available for it, but it's very expensive, as all of Paul's are. I don't understand why they have to be so much. I guess they're considered imports. Bruce Dickinson and his reissue of more Balls to Picasso. It was originally Balls to Picasso, and it has 2 unreleased bonus tracks on it. That's an album from 1994. The new Indigo D'Souza album, Precipice, which is available on vinyl, but we have the CD so far. And finally, which this is also available on vinyl, but I have the CD here, Gary Newman, and it's a CD called A Perfect Circle Live. This is from the tour from 2022 at the OVO Arena, Wembley, May 7th, 2022. Stuff from throughout his career. There's quite a few tracks on these 2 discs and then a Blu-ray. So you got the 2 CDs and the Blu-ray there. It ends with Our Friends Electric. And so anyway, it's got a lot of things from Gary's career. Obviously Cars is on here. There's an interview too. It's kind of a nice CD package. The vinyl is nice too, but more expensive. So sometimes these things, I've talked a little bit about how everything is sort of seeming like it's gone up in price or is going up still again. And so sometimes buying an economical CD is maybe the way to go. You get these big box sets that cost a fortune. Sometimes the CDs aren't that cheap either. So go figure. All right. My recommend for this week, I won't keep you much longer, but it's an album that came out in 2007, and I loved it when it came out, and they've actually changed the artwork, but it's sort of a goth pop rock classic to me now, and it is Susie Sue, and the album is called Manta Ray, and Susie of Susie and the Banshees. And this was the sort of remastered edition of it. And when this came out in 2007, she'd sort of kind of like mothballed the Banshees. I think their last album was in the mid 90s. And then she and Budgie, her ex-husband now, he just has a new book out, an autobiography. They were still doing their sort of side band, The Creatures, and they were going to get back together and do another Banshees record, and then other people decided, well, maybe I don't want to do that, and so she kind of was left trying to find something to do, and she and Budgie were sort of splitting up too, so he does not play on this album. It was the first time that she needed to go find like outside collaborators that were not part of her band circle. And I thought she did a pretty good job with the people she found. There, one of the guys in particular, the bass player, Charlie Jones, he now plays with the Cult live, but he also did a lot of work with Goldfrapp, and there are a couple other bands that he's sort of been very well kind of paired with. But anyway, uh, I would say that this album for her, her thing was that she wanted to have every song sound like it could be a single that you would have heard on the radio or whatever, and it does. And even though the first track on here, Into a Swan, was the first single and it only barely scraped into the top 40 in England, it's still a really great song. And if you've ever heard her or the band Susie Banshee's take on the song Face to Face from the Batman, one of the Batman soundtracks. I think it was the second film. It's kind of in that vein of stuff, but it's even more sort of like guitar-y and aggressive at times. It's not heavy, so it's not like thrashy or punky like the early Banshees could be. It's much more put together. It sounds like 10 James Bond kind of. Every song could be a theme for a James Bond movie. So Into a Swan is a really great opener. It's kind of sort of a mantra of like being sort of kind of sort of invincible, and like I'm kind of bursting out into the world. Nothing's gonna hold me back. Same thing with About to Happen. Here Comes That Day has a little bit more of a kind of a retro-y sort of, like, I think like that sort of 60s James Bond feel, the kind of spy music, drum beats and stuff like that. The drummer that played on this had played with Portishead too. So Loveless is another kind of dark. All of the songs are dark, but they're all kind of catchy. They all have kind of a lot of grooves and a lot of synths in them and a lot of guitar. If It Doesn't Kill You is more of a piano ballad. It sounds much more sort of haunting and kind of witchy in a way. I mean, she has her kind of almost like her vocal kind of like is sort of casting a spell. I feel like her kind of alto voice that she has, it's sort of very like always trying to kind of weave some sort of, like, it does have a very spellbinding. It's funny that they had a song called Spellbound. It does have a very kind of spellbinding, kind of torchy feel about it. And after this, she really only did one or two songs that had her vocals were out there. It was the TV show Hannibal that she had a song in, and the creator roped her into the studio to do that, and it sounded great. And but I feel like maybe she's sort of like semi-retired at this point. I mean, it's been 18 years since this album came out, if you can believe that. But and then side two here, Drone Zone and Sea of Tranquility, 1 Mile Below. Those songs have a little bit more kind of like that world music vibe that the Creatures sort of brought into a lot of their music. They Follow You is very much kind of a Goldfrappy type song from that era. So a kind of electro pop, kind of sort of buzzy feel to it, but also kind of had that kind of Bowie feeling of like Berlin in the late 70s, I suppose. And then Heaven and Alchemy is sort of a quiet closer, a little quieter and a little bit more kind of sort of optimistic. It's interesting that Heaven and Alchemy is sort of the last song that she's put to record or CD since 2007. So for somebody who was such an iconic singer and vocalist for such a long time, it's interesting how silent she's been, but that's been her choice. And anyway, if Manta Ray was going to be her last album to go out on, I think she did a really great job as far as like delivering the goods on every song on this album in some way or another. whether it be the vocals or the arrangements or whatever. It wasn't like a huge award-winning album or anything like that, but it was fairly critically liked. I wouldn't say it was like in the top 10 on a lot of people's lists for the albums of that year, but it might have been on mine actually. But anyway, I'll recommend Susie's Manta Ray because it needs some love. I think it deserves love. Okay, we all deserve love. Thanks again, guys, for watching. It's getting a little bit long, and have a great weekend. And there's a lot of music. There's been a lot of music this summer. I mean, and there is so much coming out. It's kind of getting crazy. Buckingham Nicks just got announced for a reissue. Has not been available in 50 years. So Stevie and Lindsay are finally going to let those gates open. And those of you, if you've not heard that album, you'll finally get the chance to hear it. So, all right. Thanks. Take care. Peace. Love. R.I.P. Ozzy. And see you next time. Bye.